two items. We've got EY 826, which is 3100 Weston Road, which we have a number of speakers for, and we have an additional item from Councillor Perruzza on some traffic matters. So at this time, I think we should go to EY 8.26, 3100 Weston Road, amendment listing statement. We have several speakers, and the first speaker is Edith George. Welcome, Edith, to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes. Please begin. Sure, we can pass that around. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Chair and members, I have lived in this area of the city since 1960. I brought forward an application for designation of 3100 Weston Road, the house and the Marian Shrine, to Heritage Preservation Services dated August 28, 2020. This property is located in an area of the city which is otherwise neglected and has few of its heritage resources designated. Rivermead happens to be one of these. I will be speaking on the Rivermead House as there are a list of speakers after me. Their expertise is the Marian Shrine. In the early 1900s, he was also designing the homes of E.P. Taylor, located on Bayview Avenue near Post Road, and the country home of W. Garfield Weston, located in Kleinburg, Ontario. The Gardeners of Toronto built and owned Rivermead from 1933 to 1950. I will only highlight some of their family's contributions. Sports. Percy Gardner was a member of the original board of directors of Maple Leaf Gardens for 17 years. Gertrude Gardner, his wife, opened up Rivermead to many charitable groups such as the Red Cross. This couple were philanthropic volunteers. Unfortunately, they both passed away before the establishment of the Orders of Canada and Ontario. Percy and Gertrude Gardner, immediate family members. George R. Gardner, their son. He was a major force in business, education, and the arts. He, along with his wife, created the Gardner Museum of Ceramic Arts. He was awarded an officer status of the Order of Canada and became a recipient of the Order of Ontario in 1990. Their daughter-in-law, Helen E. Gardner, she co-founded the Gardner Museum of Ceramic Arts. She became a recipient of the Order of Canada 2007. The Gardner's daughter, Helen D. Phelan, she devoted a lifetime of voluntary service. She gave her energies and financial resources to a variety of causes in support of the arts, health services, and education. Helen was a recipient of the Order of Canada in 1983. Their son-in-law, Paul Phelan, an active participant in the sport of sailing, both as an athlete and volunteer, he was responsible for financially salvaging Canada's challenge for the 1986 America's Cup. Paul was a recipient of the Order of Canada 1990. The Gardner family established at least two registered charitable foundations, the Percy R. Gardner and the Helen and Paul Phelan Foundations. Prime Minister Arthur Meehan, who was a friend of Percy Gardner's, at a testimonial dinner given for Mr. Gardner, stated, and I quote, I could not forgive myself if I missed this opportunity to laud him as one of Canada's finest citizens, end quote. This family has contributed a great deal to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and the world. Canadian history is not boring. It's very much alive and well in my neighborhood. It is only fitting that there be a designation under the Ontario Heritage Act of 3100 Weston Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Deputy Mayor Morley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Thank you for joining us today, Edith. It's good to see you and learn more about this really important site. Can you talk to us about your personal connection to this site or to the founding folks on
Yes.
the site?
Percy Gardner was the youngest child of a farming family of 6 children. 2 of his older brothers became doctors, and their last practices could be found in Toronto. Dr. John Gardner's practice was in Mount Dennis at Eglinton and Weston Road. And his other brother, Dr. George Gardner, his last practice was found in the Junction at 123 Annette Street. My family was from the Junction. They lived at 112 Mulock Street. When my dad was a teenager, he became deathly ill, and Dr. Gardner was summoned to the house, and he immediately discovered that my father's appendix had burst in his body. He got him into his vehicle, he got him to the hospital, emergency surgery was performed, and my dad survived. A few years later, my Aunt Florence became deathly ill. Dr. Gardner came to the house, and he told her parents she wasn't going to make it. She had rheumatic fever, but he said, there's a new drug on the market, and I want to try it on her. And of course, they said yes. He administered the drug, and my aunt survived. That new drug was penicillin. These are the Gardner's family's contributions to my family.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Antonio Cicchiarelli. Is Antonio here? Great. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Mr. Chair, member of the council, ladies and gentlemen, we heard the beautiful history of the site, which is be taken in consideration, I believe. But I want to give you a different aspect. So, as indicated, my name is Antonio Cicchiarelli, and I would like to speak to you in regard to the preservation of the Marian Shrine of Gratitude located on Weston and Shepherd. I am a Knights of Columbus, but today I want to speak as a resident of the area. I'm speaking as a resident of the area, frequently visiting the shrine. Every time that I visit the shrine, I was always someone praying there, the place of oasis of tranquility and devotion to Mother Mary, the Mother of God. The shrine was a reference to find inner peace and food for the soul. In today's society, where everyone is very busy and stressed, given the economical state that we're in all, due to the increase in food prices, home riches and post price, an average person to purchase, it's very difficult. Found that this unemployment is a challenge perspective. So you may ask yourself, where am I going with this? I believe that we are a society that cares for one another and recognize the great benefit that the shrine provides of 1,000 people from many walks of life. They visited the place to find spiritual help and peace of mind for at least at the time that they were there and beyond. The visit to the shrine allowed me to have a better day and be a better person, in many ways. For the foregoing reason, I ask you to consider keeping the shrine in the same place so that the many souls devoted to the devotion of Mother Mary can continue to go to a place where always welcoming and open to find solace and help to the need. There is other speaker that I will talk about. I don't know what the topic is, but to me was this very important topic that I want to share with you. And I hope that the committee will make it a just and right decision at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. The next speaker is Angela Carboni. I think Angela is, Oh, great. Okay, it says you're on video. You're live.
I have a few pictures of the shrine. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I was very blessed in 2020 to be a tenant at the Carmen Stefano Community Center. I operate a charity that I founded called St. Bernadette's Family Resource Center, and we rented 3 classrooms on the 2nd floor. Along with the 3 classrooms, which was a day program called St. Judith's Academy of the Arts for intellectually and physically challenged adults. I was also offering spiritual retreats for children from grade 2 all the way to grade 12. In 2005, I was blessed to meet Father Basil Cymbalista. When he saw that I was teaching young people about our faith, he and the Basilian Fathers, the superior, the bishop in the house, they welcomed me as a daughter. I had a key to the chapel. I had a key to the library. I was able to bring up to 10,000 youth a year to the Marian Shrine, which are still hoping to go back. Unfortunately, in 2016, the administration that took over the order did not appreciate the people in the house, which were beautiful holy men, one of which had a healing in 2004, which created the beautiful garden with permission of his superiors and the bishop, which was open to the public. And we had a real devastation when they were sent away. They were trying to eliminate me from the building as well, hoping to sell the property. 7 of us went to Rome. I wrote to Pope Francis, who took away the rights to sell the property. So for 7 years, we received written permission from Rome, from their general, to keep attending the property. I was a volunteer prayer coordinator. I did all the prayers from May to October, and thousands kept coming night and day. Within all the years, which is 20 years, almost 18 years, that my involvement has been there, I have personally received a healing where my mother was healed of cancer, and it extended her life 15 years. My assistant received a healing of 4th stage leukemia. He is now 45, should have been dead at 32. But he and another young lady who worked with me had endocrine cancer completely healed. She's on her 3rd child. In May last year, after hearing of hundreds of people with blindness, not ability to walk, different healings of different kinds, a lady came running in May and said, I have a tumor on my breast. Please pray for me. She prayed the rosary, and we prayed that night. About a month later, she came running to me and said, it's gone. They were going to do a biopsy, and there was nothing to remove. So there has been countless healings, and there's also been people who I've witnessed, young people, who while I was praying, some who told me that they would be committing suicide. But the peace they felt, the solace they felt at this beautiful grounds was incredible. The same peace was in the chapel. And unfortunately, it was sold without any warning or any notice to anyone. And we're at 20,000 on a change.org petition, and it's growing weekly. People are devastated. People have said, I managed to fulfill my time in Canada because I was able to visit this shrine. Some of them have said they've been able to cope with serious mental stress, loss of family, because it was open 24/7. So basically people would just go anytime. To this day, I'm praying there. I was never a squatter. I was a volunteer. And people are still coming in the cold. Last Friday night, we had close to 400. Unfortunately, we haven't been treated with any respect from the new owner. And actually, it's not the statue that heals people. We are not idolaters. It's the grounds. It's like Lourdes. And if we're lucky in Toronto, you might get a lot of visits. Lourdes gets thousands and thousands from all over the world, which this place is getting also from out of the country. So I pray that you do consider it heritage. It is of great value that is much greater than any money can buy because it gives love, peace, and healing at a very desperate time. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carboni. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, we'll ask the next speaker, Rose Savage. The note here is Rose may be online. The nod.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
Chair and
Rose.
members.
Stephen
Thank you.
Holiday.
Hi. Thank you so much for this
welcome.
opportunity.
You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Please begin when you're ready.
Hey, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak today. I emailed my deputation that includes 6 links to documents as it relates to heritage. So the first one is the architect of Emery's Treasured River Emery Village, which was dated March the 2022. The second one was Rivermead House and its owner Percy Gardner Emery Village, which was dated April 2022. Third one is North York Residents Called Fixes to Carmine Stefano, dated June 2019 and updated on May 27, 2023. Fourth one is Rivermead House and its second owner Jethro Krang Emery Village, dated May 2022. The fifth one is on tripadvisor.ca. And this is TripAdvisor has many positive reviews, and a few to highlight between the years 2016 and 2023. States a place of prayer and meditation, and no words can describe how beautiful this place is. And then finally, number 6, blog.to.com, which is Toronto Blog, and this was dated October 25th, 2020. The Marian Shrine of Gratitude may not only be known to many in Toronto, but Roman Catholic pilgrims worldwide and knows the name. So I'll get started with my deputation. So licensed real estate professionals and lawyers ensure that the buyer is made aware of anything that's heritage in nature and does the necessary research and due diligence on the land, its type, and its uses as a designated shrine for all to enjoy. In addition, any existing applications with decades of dedication from community members, public officials, as well as formal and informal contracts agreements in place to support the community's use. This too would be brought to the buyer's attention during inspections and should not have been ignored, nor can buyers attempt to change bylaws immediately during inspections phase and prior to closing the transaction. Formal acknowledgement, understanding, agreement, concurrence, and consent to legal binding signatures respects the heritage applications already in progress at the City of Toronto. This formal consent and sign-off is required in order to proceed with closing the transaction. The legal binding agreement is signed and sealed, and once it's signed, the transaction is closed. This now becomes an informed buyer who cannot dispute, demand immediate change, or escalate to LPAT, OLT, or legal action knowingly. The planning department process, as well as the understanding of the current Planning Act, official plan, and zoning bylaws, requires formal public consultation through committee of the whole and ratified at council are required with any planned changes to existing use. Formal application and permits are made available for all to adhere to and follow a process in order to request any changes after closing date, and only if permitted and the community is heard and is part of the process. So the transaction ignores and disrespects the City of Toronto and the community at large by their failure to adhere to these established processes and the needs of the community. So thank you again for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Stan Sokolek. Stan, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is the special picture for me right now because the shrine is gone. So every evening, Angie hosts the prayers. I bring this picture because it's very important is very, very important for me. I start the shrine with Father Basil 18 years ago. I put the first stone on this beautiful shrine. And a couple weeks ago, I was watching them destroying this beautiful place for so many different nationalities around, the Filipinos, Vietnamese, Ukrainians, Polish, Portuguese, Spanish. We had the prayers write it down in different languages. People used to come to the park. They had the access. Right now, we had 13th of October, we had a big rally, and they closed they sent the security to not let us in. So we had to call the police to open the gate because it's private. They said it's private property. It's not private property. It's still community center. It's still access to the park. Now all the people, they confused. They like this, deers. I used to feed them when they used to come to the shrine because I take care of this place. Last 7 years, I come over there volunteering every day. I commit from Brampton. So now, this is only my picture of the beautiful place they destroy, which whole community, not only Toronto, but around the world, they knew this place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Thank you for joining us today. The next speaker is Olga Rubino.
Mr. Chair, just before we do that, can I move that we extend to finish our agenda today? Because I know that if the next speaker will extend, will exceed 12:30, so can we do that now?
Absolutely. Vice Chair Perruzza moves to extend to complete the agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. If I may just ask, is Olga Rubino available?
Yes, I'm available.
Okay, Olga, you're online. Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council, welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Stephen Halliday, and members of Community Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Olga Rubino. I'm a retired French Immersion High School department head and supervising principal of Elementary International Languages program with the Toronto Catholic District School Board and have served the community in education for over 40 years. I'm here to support the amending of the listing statement and to support the eventual designation of 3100 Weston Road as a heritage property to be preserved in its original state. The property includes the Tudor-style house, the backyard gardens with the Marian Shrine, an outdoor gazebo prayer room, and the L-shaped red brick building that houses the chapel, church named St. Basil the Great's Church, and the original high school named St. Basil the Great College School. This morning I will present 3 points. Firstly, due process and public access to the property historically. The property has been sold to developers who are from out of province and/or out of country. No opportunity was given to Torontonians, GTA citizens, residents, or members of the community to purchase the property. No due process took place, nor was any notice given to the public that the property at 3100 Weston Road would be available for sale. The public has enjoyed access to the property for more than 20 years. The public should have been informed about the availability of the property for sale prior to any private sale. Much money was donated by the public to create the pathway, the gazebo, the gardens, etc. The place was developed with private donations and the funds of the people. In the common knowledge woven into the collective mindset of the community, the property, albeit private, does have aspects of being a public property with access to everyone. Secondly, Catholic education, a case to honor the historical evolution of education in Ontario and the historical and heritage significance to the City of Toronto. The property has a red brick building, which is the home of St. Basil the Great College School, which was opened in 1962. The school is the first Catholic high school to serve the northwestern area of Toronto. Research papers have been written which give evidence to the important historical movement that took place from the 1800s and the British North America Act to the famous, from the British North America Act to the famous Tiny Township case in 1925, and the ensuing creation of Catholic schools in the province of Ontario. The red brick building houses this school, and it also houses the chapel, the original church, with the same name. The unique historical design of the red brick building, that is an L-shaped building that houses both a chapel, church, and a school, gives concrete evidence of the historical significance of the two intrinsic and interwoven parts of Catholic education in Ontario: religious practice, represented by the chapel, church, and Ontario curriculum, represented by the school. The preservation of the red brick building as is, therefore, would honor this historical value and significance of the evolution of education that is unique to the province of Ontario. Thirdly, a place of prayer for everyone, a case to honor the historical significance of the Tudor-style building, outdoor gardens, Marian Shrine, and outdoor gazebo prayer room. The Tudor-style building was the home of the Ukrainian Basilian Fathers who served the spiritual needs of everyone in the community. All were welcome, and anyone from near or far and from any faith or cultural background who requested spiritual and personal support, they were all served. At a certain moment in its history as well, as recounted by my aunt, about whom I'll speak in a moment, the homeless were also fed at the property on a weekly basis by volunteers. The Marian Shrine served the spiritual needs of people from all walks of life, regardless of religion, gender, nationality, cultural background, or affiliation. It is a spiritual haven for prayer and for unifying peace for everyone. All are welcome. Many miracles have been recorded after prayer at the Marian Shrine. Many volunteers have developed and maintained the grounds over the years. The place is of historical significance and much needed as a haven of prayer for everyone during these troubled times. We have a gem in our city. Let us keep the beauty that we have and not release this to developers from out of town. On a personal note, my 96-year-old aunt, Esterina Colaburi, is one of the original members of the Daily Rosary Prayer Group, and who, along with many others, donated much time for close to 20 years, and also donated much money to cultivate the spiritual practices there, and also cultivating the actual grounds.
Olga, can I ask you to wrap up because you're over time?
Oh, sure.
Thank
In
you.
conclusion, so I'm concluding, due to the 3 points that I've presented, I feel it's our duty as Torontonians to support the listing and to eventually designate the property as heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. The next speaker is Eva Puznik. Is Eva here or online? Eva's online. Welcome, Eva. Stephen Holiday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
There. Good afternoon. I've been a resident in this area for just over a decade. One of the first things my partner and I did when we moved to this area was visit the shrine. During my residency here in this neighborhood, our family has lost so many members to illness and violence and crime. And every time we did, my mother and I would visit the shrine. My sister and I would visit the shrine. And we have so much gratefulness for being able to attend a place that gives us solace and peace and hope. And just to have this beautiful place in our neighborhood has been such a wonderful opportunity. and I hope we don't lose it. The grounds itself is beautiful. Any construction on this property would be a detriment to the Humber River Park system, and a gorgeous meeting place for everyone to find comfort. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. Our next speaker is Amani Bologno. Is Amani online? Great.
Hello.
Hi, Amani. Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak to the Community Council. Please begin when you're ready.
Hello. Thank you for having me. My name is Amani Bolongo, and my family and I are avid users of the playing fields located behind the 3100 Weston Road property. We, as in me, my children, and other soccer moms and their families, use these fields for the children's soccer games, practice, and for leisure purposes, mostly on weeknights and weekends. So it has come to my attention that since the nightly gatherings of sometimes hundreds of people on this field, that they gather here in protest for the closing of a shrine that they set up many years ago. And as a resident of the local area and property owner and a law student, I am very concerned. I have some very concerning questions that I would like to put forward to our councillor, Anthony Peruzza, who is supposed to be representing the entire population of Ward 7 and not only a fraction of protesters who want to keep a shrine open. There are many residents of Ward 7 who have no idea that this shrine exists, but we are being negatively impacted by the nightly takeover since August 2023 of the playing fields, which the councillor Anthony Peruzza is not only in support of, but a willing participant in these gatherings. I'm going to include photos that will be attached to the deputations in an email so that you can see as proof. The last one being on October 13th, where a feast with tables, food, music, statues, and a large gathering of people was being looked over by the councillor in the presence of police officers. Now, I just want to say this, that whether the shrine is added to the listing or not, or whether it be considered heritage or not, as a property owner, I have some very, very concerning questions that I would like Mr. Peruzza to answer. The shrine sits on a parcel of land originally used, from what I have gathered in my research and also from what I've heard from some of the protesters that I've spoken to and the local community. It was used by the Gardner family and later the fathers of the Brazilian order. Now, according to the letters given to us by the security guards upon the closure of the shrine, it has been made clear by the Brazilian order who sold the property that the shrine was not set up nor supported by the Brazilian order. Instead, it was a lone father who lived in the house who had no authority to set up a shrine with the help of members of the community worshippers, who then, without legal authority, continued for 20 years to occupy the gardens, which are now under legal ownership of, I believe, a company called Evans Court. Now, so I would just like to state that irrespective of the decision made by council to amend the listing to add a shrine, the nightly prayer protests have to stop. My children and other families' children are now fearful of using these playing grounds for what they are supposed to be intended for, playing, not nightly prayer gatherings in formal protest. The organizers of the protest, Deba Harper and Angie Carboni, who just spoke not too long ago, nightly disrupt the usage of the playing fields by illegally setting up bright fluorescent entertainment lights, tables, statues, loud music, and large gatherings, which according to city bylaws require a permit for such gatherings, something that should have been made aware to them by the councillor Anthony Peruzza. I may also remind Anthony, the vice chair of this meeting, of his legal duties as an elected official representing the population of Ward 7 on behalf of the City of Toronto, that according to Section 224 of the Municipal Act, which states the role of council is to represent the public and to consider the well-being and interests of the municipality. In this matter, the councillor is only representing the demands of the shrine protesters and not representing the safety, needs, and well-being of the public of Ward 7 and Torontonians at large. Also, he has not questioned the legitimacy of the Change.org petitioners, to which the volume of the signatories have been found to be grossly fraudulent, and on this basis was used to motion the city councillors to bring forth the matter we hear today. Now, I'm just going to wrap this up. So for this reason, I wholly disagree with the council voting to amend the listing to include a shrine, or usage of the gardens, which is now a private property that is no longer within the public legal jurisdiction to enter. And I and hundreds of other families who are completely disappointed with the handling of this matter by the councillor will be submitting a complaint to the Integrity Commission to investigate whether Mr. Peruzza has violated the code of conduct that applies to him as a councillor. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, I'm going to.
I just want to thank her for mentioning me, I don't know, 15 times in her speech and for the political ad. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Teresa Lubinsky. I believe that's trustee Teresa Lubinsky. Do we have Teresa online?
The numbers don't match, so I've promoted someone, but I don't know if it's the correct person.
Is Teresa in the room or online?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me? I am on the phone. It's Trustee Lubinsky.
Good afternoon, trustee. It's Stephen Holliday, chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak to the council. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, all. My name is Teresa Lubinsky. I am Catholic School Board Trustee for Etobicoke Lakeshore and Parkdale High Park. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Anthony Peruzza and Councillor James Pasternak and the rest of the City Council for getting us to this point regarding 3100 Weston Road. The community appreciates that. The motion that was presented last month to propose full protection or River Maid to the Gardiner family's former country estate, the Marian Shrine of Gratitude, the Carmine Stefano Community Center, a parking lot, and a few soccer fields that are all located at 31 Weston Road, steps away from the banks of the Humber River. The Gardiners family opened their home River Maid to various charities and organizations such as the Cradle Crutch of York Township, the Red Cross, and Group Number 3 of the Women's Auxiliary of the St. Clair YMCA. The First Nations of North America used the trail on the property as part of the trade route that connected northern and western Canada with the Gulf of Mexico. In 1958, the Ukrainian Basilian Fathers purchased a River Maid to use as a monastery and later filled in the outdoor swimming pool. This area evolved into a prayer garden named the Marian Shrine of Gratitude, where public was welcome. Father Basil Timbaliste created the Marian Shrine of Gratitude, and after he passed away in 2018, the shrine remained public. People from Toronto, all over Ontario, and various parts of the world have visited the shrine. My family and I have been going to the Marian Shrine of Gratitude for about a decade. I know the spiritual value of the place, and so do the people from different cultures that have visited the place. I was fortunate to see the house's interior. The well-maintained original and historical structure is magnificent. It's important for the City of Toronto to acknowledge the historical and cultural significance of River Maid, the architectural value of the home, the significance of the Gardiner family in Toronto's history, and the evolution of the Marian Shrine of Gratitude as a prayer garden loved by thousands of people from various cultures. It uniquely merges old and new values. The city needs to recognize its historic sites through the eyes of new Canadians and immigrants, and River Maid offers that opportunity. Because of my long connection to the Marian Shrine of Gratitude, I began working with my colleagues on the Toronto Catholic District School Board last month in hopes of protecting the property at 3100 Weston Road. Together, we formed a motion that passed unanimously, requesting that both the City of Toronto and the Government of Ontario designate the former Gardiner family summer resort, Basilian Father's House, including the Marian Shrine of Gratitude, located at 3100 Weston Road in Toronto, as a heritage site protected by the Ontario Heritage Act. In this forgotten northwest corner of Toronto, there's no property standing with this wealth of heritage value. As an elected official, I am entrusted to protect people's needs, and I am here to represent the substantial number of my constituents from Etobicoke Lakeshore and Parkdale High Park. The Marian Shrine of Gratitude has been a public place until it was recently sold. It's been used by the public. People of different faiths, people of different religions come to the shrine. The historic value of it is that it has been a public place. There's a petition with over 20,000 signatures. There's a spiritual attachment to this place. From parking lot, there's an asphalt pathway leading to the shrine. It's a public place. Toronto is an immigrant, multicultural city, and the Marian Shrine of Gratitude is a place that unites us all. I hope that the City of Toronto Council will accommodate the public and consider heritage designation at 3100 Weston Road. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Levinsky. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. Our next speaker is Samuel Babs. Is Samuel available in the chamber or online? Okay.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Is that Samuel?
This is Samuel.
Samuel Stephen Holiday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I'm actually very happy to meet this committee, and I'm glad that Anthony Peruzza is actually sitting there as well, because I like to direct my speech to you directly. Because of your action, we are going to terminate. By the way, just let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm a property owner, okay, of 3100, and I'd like to make this very clear to the committee. Due to Anthony Peruzza's action, our board has decided to terminate the lease to the City of Toronto occupying this property. Now, this is going to result in a lot of people in the City of Toronto suffer the consequences due to the action, the council's action. You've decided to neglect our property rights. You've decided to wage war against your constituent. I believe your job as a councillor is to represent all members of the public in your constituent, not a section part of the constituent.
Mr. Babs, it's Stephen Holiday, the chair. If I could ask you to speak to the item, to mind your comments in favor or opposition of the item, though, please. If I can just ask you to remain.
I am talking in focus in favor of the item. The item here is to designate my property and include this illegal shrine on my property, right? That's the item. So I'm talking directly to that. And my objection to this item is that the shrine that everybody's talking about is a complete illegal act on this property. The councilor knows that because I've had a meeting with him in my office and I've made it very clear to him. And the response from him to my office was, this would never come out of my mouth to the constituent. So we educated you. We told you what our plan is with this property. We made it very clear that we would not develop or destroy the heritage aspect of this property. And we enlightened you as to what our plan are or is with this to this property. And you responded to us and told us you would never tell the truth to your constituent because you are concerned about the consequences of you speaking the truth, which is you're going to lose both. We feel like you are.
Mr. Chair, look, I can't really understand what he's saying, but I think that what he's saying is very libelous because I don't know what he's doing. I don't.
Chair, I like to reclaim my time. Chair. I like to reclaim my time. It's my time to talk, and you have no right to talk when I'm talking.
Well, the point of privilege, Mr. Chair, is that we, for example, are bound. We, for example.
I like to reclaim my time, sir. I like to reclaim my time.
He's going to stop the clock, and he's going to give you. He's going. The chair.
Peruzza has the floor. Can you just please?
The chair is going to stop the clock and give you your time. So, Mr. Chair, while we, try to conduct ourselves in very sort of parliamentary-like tradition and are very careful in the way we select our words and what we say about individuals and so on. I would caution the deputant to do very much the same, because he's in a public forum, and I don't know what he's saying. I don't quite understand what he's saying, but it doesn't sound to me either very parliamentary or very truthful. So I would caution him to do that, and give him his time back. Absolutely, he's entitled to his 5 minutes. Let him have his 5 minutes.
Mr. Babb, it's Chair Stephen Holiday. So I did pause your time at 2:29. I will add 30 seconds to give you 5:30, because I can't roll the clock back, but that's more than adequate. What I would ask you to do, as raised at the point of privilege by Councillor Perruzza, is please bring your comments through the chair, as opposed to speaking to the councillor directly. Please keep them focused to me as the chair. I know that you're aware that you're entitled to speak to this item, and I'm prepared to allow broad latitude, but I do ask you to please remain focused on the particular subject matter before us. And if you are going to speak in a more direct manner, if you could bring those comments through me as the chair. And with that, I will ask that you please continue, and I will reestablish your clock.
Thank you so much. I think the individual we're talking about made a comment that he does not understand what I'm talking about. I think you probably either thick to understand what I'm saying, or because what I'm saying is very clear. Right? Abusive of power, you will be, Chair, we are going to follow an investigation into the whole matter. We feel that the so-called 20,000 petitions are fraudulent. We've launched an investigation into the so-called petitions that will be investigated, as well as the overreaching of power. We have evidence to support our claim that Anthony Perruzza is going around to different agencies and asking them to give us a hard time in developing this property, including the TRCA. We have evidence of this action, and we feel that this counselor has completely abused his power in this position, and this needs to be investigated. Also, I'd just like to know that this is a private property. Either this property gets designated, or section part of this property gets designated as an heritage or not, the public would not be allowed onto this property. This is my property, and I would not let nobody come into this property, right? So you guys, I feel like the city's time has been completely wasted in fighting a lost cause, right? This is a private property, and I'm going to iterate what I'm saying as many times as possible. And no one can force us as private property owners to allow the public to continue to trespass our property. The City of Toronto, we are in dialogue with the City of Toronto Real Estate Department, and we have decided, maybe you might not be aware, maybe you are aware, the City of Toronto is our tenant on this property. They currently live in the community center, and due to Anthony Perruzza's action, we have decided to terminate the lease to the City of Toronto, which obviously the large public will suffer the consequences of this, because they will be denied access to the playing fields, which everybody enjoys, just like the previous speaker touched on. And we are going to launch a thorough investigation into this matter to expose Anthony Perruzza's agenda, which is strictly political. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Babb. Are there any questions of the speaker? Deputy Mayor Morley.
Hi there. Thanks for presenting today. I'm curious if you are comfortable sharing what is your intention as the private property owner for the future of this property?
Thank you for the question. We've made it very clear, explicitly clear, that we love the house, the heritage house. We love the property as is. Like I said, there's 3 sections to this property. There's a heritage component to this property. There's a playing field component to this property, and there's a community center section of this property. Our intention is to keep the playing field the way it is and allow the public to continue to enjoy this playing field. as well as keep the heritage property as is. The plan is to move into the heritage property and use the heritage property as a private residence. So I really do not understand what the fight is about. We're not here to destroy the property. What these guys are fighting for is to keep the illegal action, the illegal activity shrine to prevail on the private property. You're waging war against a private owner, a property owner in the city of Toronto. This is very irresponsible. I really cannot understand what the agenda is here. Is the agenda to keep the heritage property heritage or to keep the shrine? We have to identify exactly what we're fighting for here, right? And if the agenda here is to keep the shrine, then we got to start asking the legitimacy of the shrine. The shrine has no formal organization. This is not a registered charity, right? These guys do not pay any taxes. They're not exempt from paying taxes. We know that. CRA is not aware of this organization, and they are connecting thousands of dollars over the last 20 years from the member public through different donations. That's currently going into private bank accounts, being utilized by this fraudulent.
Thank you. You answered the question.
The leaders of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the speaker? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Babs. Our next speaker is Irene Taveras. Welcome to the Community Council, Irene. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, City Council. It's been a very long morning, so I'm going to try to keep this very brief and shine a little bit of a different light and my involvement. I am a supporter of the heritage application and hopefully the future designation of 3100 Weston Road, including the prayer garden and the shrine. My parents met Father Basil 20 years ago approximately and were involved from the very beginning in the development and strictly really the development and the growth of the shrine. My parents had my father's background, who now is deceased 2 years ago, but my father's background was in engineering. He had run water lines to the gardens for underground sprinklers. My parents had donated the 2 angels that were part of the shrine. They had imported them from Italy at a cost of their own. It was $2,500 for the donation of the angels. They had donated money to the stainless glass that was behind the main statue. They had donated vases to the altar and various other things, in a total of over $5,000 in contributions over the span of the years. But the most amazing part was seeing the growth and the organic development of the shrine. In the very beginning, people just gravitated to it. And it was all different cultures, believers, non-believers, young and old and children. And more people came. Now, I just want to touch base on one point that has been mentioned several times: illegal. My parents initially, when they met Father Basil, had gone to his superior, who was Father Myron. They had specifically asked him permission whether they could donate anything to the altar. I have with me, in a very long, thick file, a letter from that governing body that was overseeing the shrine and the monastery, allowing them to do that. Everything that was done from that point on till Father Myron was taken, he passed away, but till he left his place of being the head of that, the St. Basil's Monastery, everything was done with approval and was done legally. Nobody stepped foot or was allowed to go or not allowed to go without prior approval. It was a place that was welcomed to everybody, and anybody and everybody could come at any given time. So there was nothing illegal ever done. Recently, approximately 7 years ago, the priests, Father Myron and Father Basil, both passed away, and 2 new priests were put into that place. My background, I've been a local realtor for over 12 years. The ownership from a non-for-profit organization had changed by these two people to a holding company. And then properties started to be sold. They were in possession of various properties in the city of Toronto. One church on Vaughan Road was sold, but all of them, ironically, were all sold under the impact evaluation and off-market. I'm not here to make any judgment, and I am not here to comment on that. I'm simply stating that. So, I'm here to point out that my parents have contributed a great amount of time, effort, and finances in this particular shrine. The shrine has grown organically, and it sees thousands of community members and people from everywhere, every part of the city coming, whether it's meditating, praying, whatever it is that they're doing, they're there, they're physically there. Here, we've got a large number just supporting. I've been here since 9:30 this morning with my mother, 83 years old, on a walker. It's because we care. There's a large community involvement and support. And the buyer knew about this well prior because he had been seen at the property for months before the property had closed. You can't make a part of 401 private grounds. And I'm a strong believer, to wrap it up, that all great things start from small. I hope that you, the council, and Mr. Chair, see the great value that this holds to so many people. Appreciate that and give us the ability to really make this place what it should be, a place of heritage and a community. Thank you very much.
Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I have one more speaker on the list here. That is Gianfranco Cristiano. Gianfranco, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes. Please begin when you're ready.
Welcome. Good afternoon, Chair, and everybody here. No point of repeating everything that was said today. I think it was all valid points. What I do want the focus to be on is, as you can see and tell by the rhetoric of the new owner, the way that he spoke with Councillor Peruzza and acknowledged his staff goes to show what we are dealing with as a community. He paints us as squatters. We're not squatters. There's a current lease in effect that allows people from the community to come to that property, whether it's the soccer fields, whether it's the park, community center, it doesn't matter.
Mr.
So,
Cristiano, if I may,
Yeah.
in the same way that I cautioned others, if you could just please address it
To you.
the chair,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
and not
No,
direct
I'm
it to an
trying to.
individual, but
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So it's very important that for you, the chair, and everybody to know that we need the support here. The shrine is not a make-believe. It's not about having an organization like some have mentioned. The shrine, the fact that it was put together with the priest that was there, given a blessing by the bishop at the time, with the community members, goes to show the validity of it. It was mentioned that the Archdiocese of Toronto does not recognize it and that the Vatican does not recognize it. That is not true. The Archdiocese of Toronto, Cardinal Collins led Mass there. If anybody knows about priests of the Catholic Church, you are not allowed to lead Mass outside of the church, even to wed somebody, without permission from the Archdiocese. There has been multiple priests come to that property and led Mass over the years. It was recognized. The problem is the Archdiocese does not own that property. The property was owned by a separate entity, the Ukrainian Epicarchy of Toronto. So that's why a lot of people say, oh, or actually should say it was mentioned, I'm not going to say who, but you know who, that the property was not recognized by the church. Not true at all. There's been countless videos, pictures of how priests, cardinals, people from Vatican came to that site and honored that site. The problem is they don't own it. And when it was sold, and we contacted the Archdiocese saying, hey, is there any way that you can help us? They said that we had no knowledge that it was being sold, because if it was, we definitely would have been interested, because they understand the sacredness of that site. It's nothing that was make-believe by a few community members putting some statues together. I'll put statues in my backyard like it was mentioned, but miracles at that site cannot be moved, just like grave sites are not moved. The fact that there's statues there that was put forth by the community made that garden even more beautiful. He speaks about keeping a heritage site. No problem. The Rivermead House is here. The shrine is here. The field is here. So you're going to keep that. You're going to keep the field. Then what are you going to do in the middle? That's all heritage. That whole part there, you cannot build there because of where it is. Okay? We have to understand that the Rivermead, he claims that he wants to keep the house. There's already been videos that he had disposal bids at that house and started doing some construction inside the house. And the bylaw officers were called to stop it. So at the end of the day, we have to really see, and I understand, I'm not putting blame on him. Maybe he was misled, whatever it is. All I can tell you is that as a community, the history here is that the community kept that site alive. We got solar panels to light up the place, cameras there. We had stand that goes there, buys candles, and we give him money for the candles. There's no illegal things going on there. The fact that people donated statues, taking care of the property, people coming and gardening there. There are no squatters there. Grandmothers, my aunt, my mother, women that come there and pray from different religious backgrounds too. I've seen people, because at the end of the day, it was a place of solace. It's not what he says about that we're squatters. No. And the lady mentioned about being on the soccer field. No. The reality is that we were given permission by the owner to be on the hill since he closed everything off. We do not go on that field unless there's no games going on. When there's no games going on, 2 times, because it was a larger gathering, and they were organized gathering, because that's what happens with the Rosary, that we go on that field. Every night, we don't step foot on that field. We have videos. There's a Facebook page you can go and check out. We are on the hill. We are way far away from the field. So we don't stop anybody from playing soccer, nothing. I just think that it's very important for this council to know the beauty of this place, the religious aspect, the heritage, the historical value. It all sums in together. At the end of the day, we want to work with the new owners, whether he wants to work with us or not, whether it's a ship that sailed. We need the help from this council to help the community defend what is truly a historical and heritage place. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none. That's the end of the list. I will ask if there is anyone that has been missed that wanted to speak. Seeing none. Thank you. Questions of staff?
Just very briefly, I know that that Gary Medema is here. Just if you could, in a nutshell, really sort of sum up what we are doing here today. Okay. Because I know people have been all over the map on it. So.
Thank you. So this property was listed on the North York Inventory of Heritage Properties in 1997, moved on the City of Toronto's list of properties heritage registered in 2006. Because of that early listing statement, it doesn't account for the full values that we see today of the property. So this is simply an amending of the listing statement. It's not changing the status of the property. It's just amending the listing statement so that it's referencing the full dimensions of the property, including any values that might be related to the school, as well as the rear yard, and of course, the shrine as it relates to a community value.
I know, that's it.
Seeing none. Question, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to staff. Thank you for being with us today. Question for you as it relates to this item before us. What are the impacts of us moving forward with this listing, both for the shrine, as we've seen and heard very clearly, a strong community of support, and we also have heard on the opposite side of the existing property owner and their intentions. What are the impacts of this listing, of us moving forward with this listing today on both groups?
Thanks for that question. So what listing really means 2 things, I think, in this scenario. First of all, it requires a property owner to give the City of Toronto 60 days notice if they intend to demolish a structure or building on the property. So that's number 1, that's all listings. What a revised listing statement does for us in this case is when the owner himself has said today that they are contemplating plans for change for the property, a revised listing statement simply speaks more clearly of broader values to the site that will need to be considered as a part of any development application. And in particular, a development application on a listed property must include a heritage impact assessment. And that document is something that is produced by the owner of the property with heritage consultants to speak to the values of the site and to speak to how their plans may or may not impact the values of the site. So we start on a clearer level and a clearer playing field is the intention of this. That's really what this does today.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right. Members of council wishing to speak. Councillor Perruzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you've heard it really clear in terms of what we are doing here today. We are amending a listing statement that was established in 1997. I'm going to ad lib here, and I'm assuming that in 1997, the house was listed because I think the school closed down. St. Basil's the Great College School, I believe, ceased to be an active high school. My former alma mater, I might add. That listing was migrated to the City of Toronto in 2006 under the amalgamated city. But you'll see in the report, the listing statement is sort of focuses in on Rivermead Cottage. Today's amended statement, as you've heard from Mr. Medema, is that it now becomes much broader in terms of looking at the entire site in terms of its value. That's what we're doing here today. That's what the action of this community council will seek to do. I understand that folks are looking for a villain in this story, but I just want to simply say this. Prior to July of this year, this was the activity that transpired here, that took place here for the past 18 years, since 2006. So for 18 plus years, people have been congregating onto this site, peacefully praying, finding that spiritual solace that people are looking for. And they've done it with the knowledge and blessings of the former owners, the Basilian order, the Basilian order that owned the site. So while I forget his names, the Mr. Babs, I believe. While Mr. Babs is looking for a villain, Perruzza was invited on site.
Councillor?
Yeah.
Through the chair.
No. Through the chair, Mr. Chair. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to take the bait and do that. But I came onto the site in July. Why? Because the site was in transition to be sold, and the new owners had decided to take a hardline approach to the shrine and to the peaceful assembly of people onto the shrine. Something that they had been doing for a couple of decades. And the new owners then decided to bring security onto the site. And with that security, begin to sort of push people out and try to limit people's access to the site. They've closed the site. And what we have done is said to folks, this is a community center, and when the fields are available, which have lighting on them, you know, because they're sports fields. When the fields are available, you can assemble on the fields to recite the rosary. Reciting the rosary has been labeled by Mr. Babs, and I believe Ms. Balongo labeled that a protest. Since when did reciting the rosary and paying homage to God escalate to being a protest, a political assembly, a protest? So we need to, yeah, I will wrap up, Mr. Chair, because I know we've belabored this somewhat. So I would just simply say to the new owners that this is a complicated site. This is a site which you obviously want to do some things with. To just simply come in and talk to us about it and we can figure out together, hand in hand, how we go forward to make sure that your rights as a private property owner and the community's desire to carry on with an activity that they've been you're doing here for several decades now, that those things are able to coexist with each other. And I think that that's all we are looking for. We're looking for a peaceful way forward with you. And if today is the first step in that process, then I think we'd all welcome that. Thank you.
Councillor Perruzza, just for clarity for the committee, there is a report and a supplementary.
I'm moving the report. There's a supplementary? Sorry.
There is a supplementary from the Toronto Preservation Board.
Correct, yes. Yes.
Are you moving that as well?
I am,
Okay.
yes.
So I'll just check. Any other speakers? Deputy Mayor Morley.
Just very quickly, and I just want to commend, through you, Mr. Chair, my colleague, Councillor Perruzza. This is a very intense, we can feel the energy on both sides of this issue, and I just want to thank Edith, who's in the audience today, because I had the pleasure of coming to the shrine at Edith's invitation and have had a chance to experience it in person. But what's clear to me, despite whatever we do here as community council today, is there's folks are very far away from one another. This listing will not guarantee access, will not, necessarily change anything within the current property owner. And it really is going to take some mediation, some leadership, and coming together for folks, I think, to come up with, a solution forward here. So I'd like to again commend my colleague for his stated desire to play that role and to bring folks together. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll ask just for a bit of guidance on the sequence. 2 votes. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, on the supplementary report. Even the computer's tired. Okay, the supplementary report is up there. On the supplementary, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. On the item itself, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Madam Clerk, did we get that right? Okay, thank you.